lecture on artist residencies. So tonight we're going to get to hear kind of the nuts and bolts behind how to get yourselves to the artist residency and what it looks like to get ready when you're there and some tips and tricks behind there. So to kick it off, if we could just kind of go down and introduce yourselves, say which residency you're with and something unique about your residency.
Sure. My name is Tawni Shuler. I am the program director at Ucross. Oh, great. And I'm Addlesperger. I am the executive director at Ucross Foundation. And I would say something unique about our residency is that we're located on a 20,000 acre ranch in Wyoming. That might not be that unique in this group, but it is unique nationally. So
it's unique for me. I'm Doug Gouge from the Tongue River Artist Residency. It's in Dayton. And what's unique about our residency is that we only have one resident at a time. Although you can bring your dog, you can bring your wife, or husband, or partner, or child. In particular, we wanted to do it that way so that women, who often are excluded from residencies, can bring a child and have a residency experience. So that's us.
I'm Abby Whiting, and I'm the residency assistant over at Jentel Artist Residency. I'd say what I personally think is just Nelchi being our founder, who we'll get into when we talk a little bit more about Jentel. But Nelchi and her vision is really what makes Jentel unique.
I'm Ashley McCann. I'm a residency assistant for Jentel, and I am off-site, but I'm first person that generally somebody interacts with if they have any questions or comments. And I think that the most unique thing about Jentel is its unstructured kind of meld with nature and be able to enjoy as much time wandering around outside as you'd like or not.
What would you say are some of the key benefits artists get to receive when they're at your residencies?
I'll start. So just starting off with what Jentel is, it's really just the embodiment of our founder Nelchi and her vision. She was from New York, came to Wyoming, really found calm and peace, and just discovered a lot of creativity and meditation throughout the Wyoming environment and things like that. What makes us unique and with the benefits of everything is the time and space, like Ashley was saying, is just, we're really unstructured. There's no, you gotta do this in a day, or there's no output requirements. And also the house, I think, is really pretty cool with ours, just because Nelchi did design it. And she actually designed it on a napkin, gave it to her builders and was like, here you go, I want it to look like this. And it's really cool. I really suggest going onto our website and being able to see it. So each resident gets a private room, and then there's common spaces for the kitchen, there's a library, there's an entertainment room. Each visual artist gets a studio. We also take writers, and they each get their own room. And then composers is our newest addition, which is pretty cool because Lynn Reeves, our program manager, has worked really hard on the studio for the composers. So it's a large space, and they get a basic keyboard, basic guitar, things like that. But we're also really low tech. Some people think it's not a benefit, but some people think it is because we have like no Wi-Fi. But I do hear more positives about that actually, that the Wi-Fi is not great because they really get to disconnect. So I'd say that's benefits for Jentel. Do a good job.
I would say because it's a one-person residency, it's a time for introspection, and so you get a lot of time to just think. And we really stress that we have no expectations. This is your residency. You do with it what you want. I would say that that's produced some interesting, I think a lot of people have not experienced time alone, or just alone. And I think that's produced some pretty major breakthroughs in their life to have that opportunity. So.
Well, I'll tell you all the administrative side of Ucross, and then I'm going to kick it to Tawni, who joined us first as an artist in residence at Ucross, so you can share the soul side. She gets the soul. So, like I said, Ucross is on a 20,000-acre ranch. I imagine many of you have been there. It's about 35 minutes away, just 10 miles down the road from our friends at Nelji. So we're really in the community of Ucross, population now 26. And then every session, that number goes up by 10. Because we have 10 artists in residence at a time. We can accommodate a few more than that, but we always try to keep it to that 10 because we've learned that that is the perfect number for a dinner party because it doesn't get too cliquey. People can have big group conversations and small breakout conversations. It just fits really well for us. So we offer a visual art studios, writers, spaces, studios. We've got composers, cabins, and this gorgeous dance studio. So we also are able to support interdisciplinary artists. And throughout the year, we offer residencies to around 120 artists. And very similarly to our colleagues in the artist residency spaces, we offer uninterrupted time and space, which can be so meaningful to artists because
I think I came as an artist, a visual artist in 2013. 2013, I came to Ucross as a visual artist. I think, of course, I was thinking about this on the way in, what is like the benefit of any artist residency, but ours in particular is just being seen as an artist, being given these incredible spaces to live and work in. A lot of us are working in our apartment, a corner in our kitchen. We're like cleaning up for our families. So just being able to have your own space, your own time. We see a lot of tears when we open the doors to the studios because somebody cannot believe that that is just for them. And what that does to be seen wholly for the thing that you love and the thing that you do, it gives me goosebumps right now in my legs just thinking about it. It's just an incredible surge of like, this is going to boost my confidence. So I think that's one of, it's so rare. A lot of in the arts, everybody is telling you no, you're getting a lot of rejections, and I feel like at Ucross, it's yes. Yes, we can provide that chord for you. Yes, this is your studio. Yes, we have a chef and you do not have to go grocery shopping this week. And what that allows you to do is breathe and be a human being, and I think that is priceless.
In every studio, we have a little plaque that says, no one will interrupt you in the studio unless your studio is burning down. And then even then, there are some examples recently. But then the compliment is you may not interrupt anyone else in your studio. So the artists and the staff really respect that rule. And similarly, we don't have any expectations of output. If artists want to come and just read or like sleep or walk around the grounds or a hike, they're able to do that as well.
Our joke is the staff is like smoke. You can smell us, that That's what Carl and I say, we're like smoke. They're in and out.
I like that.
Well, that's a great way to kind of segue into the next section of we want to get more artists being able to feel like that. So if we talk about the application and selection process for this, what do you guys see as in a strong application, and what are some like common mistakes that artists make when filling those out?
I would be happy to start that off. For anybody thinking about applying, there's like 3 basic things that I will just say like that's really all that you need. The first one is whatever residency program you want to go to the website. Read about that particular residency program. Make sure that it fits your lifestyle and your work. So, if you like, Ucross is in the middle of this giant ranch, there's definitely going to be bugs and mice, and maybe that might not be your, like running around. So make sure you go there early, read the website, take a look at what the program is. Secondly, read the application and follow the instructions. Like, if it says 20 slides, don't put in 22, put in 20. And then do it ahead of time. Don't try to apply on the last day at the last hour, because inevitably your internet will go out, the system will crash. You know, make sure you're looking at like is it mountain time, is it Eastern time? These are all things that are just like paying attention to details is so important. Those are the three big ones. I know there's questions later on about like work and how specific does it get, and I'd be happy to talk about that later, but like just basic application stuff, read it, follow it, do it before the deadline. That's it.
Ashley, you probably have something to say about this.
Make sure. A little bit. No, communication, like if you read, going back to you, know which application you're using. Make sure, if you're a visual artist, don't apply on the writer and then email me and go, I don't have anywhere to put my work. I go, yeah. You can't put a JPEG there. I'm sorry. But being communicative, you know, please don't submit an application and then not participate in it. Don't check your email and find out if I went, were you really born on this day of this year? Because you seem to have a better command of technology than 45 minutes. But, and then I'll just have people just not re-engage, and then they're upset when deadline hits. I'm like, sorry, I did send out, like I tried to get a hold of you. Yeah, basically correct application, communication, and instructions. Yeah, please just read. That's about all I've got.
Reading. That's like the most read everything.
Yeah,
just read everything.
Wait, it's comprehension though. It's not just read. It don't, like, let it sink in before you start making decisions.
Give yourself uninterrupted time to read.
Please don't read it while you're grocery shopping, on the subway.
Yes.
At the last hour.
Yeah. And don't call me 10 minutes before deadline and say,
yeah,
I don't have it turned in, and I go, well, I'm sorry.
Yeah, next session.
You can certainly start applying for that next session now. Yeah.
We're a little more casual because we're small. So you can read on the website, it says what you need to do in an application, and if you follow that. I get nervous if I get an email saying, I want to apply to your residency, I don't know how to do that. Well, you know, you got to look at the website. That means they haven't done that. So it's like, we're pretty flexible about that. But we have deadlines, and you have to meet the deadlines, and that kind of stuff. So, and we cut it off, you know, it's like, if you don't, you know.
Yeah,
But we don't have as many specific things as I've seen your application processes, which you need for the kind of group that you have. You know, I look at an application, say that looks goofy. No, it's not. You can't do that.
Depends on how goofy, I guess. One question I'll throw in here that wasn't on here.
No surprises.
This one you should hopefully know, since we're talking about the applications, what are your application deadlines or cycles that you guys are on for that?
So our applications for summer, fall open January, February 1st. No, that's for winter spring. Come back to me, hold on.
It's always on our website.
It is always on.
We open applications July 1st, and we close them December 31st. And you can apply anytime in there. We don't review them until basically December is when we'll collect we acknowledge your application when you send it in. We send a confirmation, thank you for applying, and then we'll go through the process of reviewing them, and then after sometime in January, we send out acceptances for the coming year. We're open from basically April 1st until October 31st. So that's the window, so we're closed in the winter. And if we have somebody we really like and we can't squeeze them in, we'll open in March with an asterisk. It may snow, but
It looks so,
yeah, right. Yeah.
Can I ask a follow-up? So who is we? What is your selection process like?
It's Jeanette, my wife, and I.
Nice.
So it's just the two of us. We just do it.
Wow, that's such a big process and very impressive.
It can get testy.
But what do you see as like the criteria for which you judge the artist? Like, how do you make that decision?
Sure. So we do it differently. Jeanette is more of an artist than I am. I'm more of an entrepreneur. I'm looking for someone who is up to something, an opportunity. So it can be, I know we're gonna talk about emerging versus established artists. I look at both. That's fine with me, but if there's some kind of passion there, that's what I'm looking for, that this is why they want to do this residency, why they need to do it now, and I look at that. Jeanette looks more at the art, and I look at it too, but she's more critical in terms of that area. And so we put the two things together, and then we have a commitment to diversity. So that's an important part of the application for us. We want to bring different kinds of artists to Wyoming than the standard, not standard, but you know what I mean. We accept plein air artists, but we accept musicians and sculptors and people from Brooklyn. Anyway, I don't want to jump around too much. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
So Ucross is in the middle of our application sessions. We're accepting applications through July 15th for fall 2026. And then we will open for spring 2026.
For spring, yep.
Yes, and then will you talk about the deadlines for spring?
Sure. So yeah, right now we close July 15th. That will be for spring 2026. That is from February, the first Monday in February, and that goes all the way to the first Friday in June. And then we open up November 1st, and that runs through January 15th, and that is for our fall session. Our fall session starts the first Monday in August, and it runs to the first Friday in December. And then we also have a special invite summer session that we're actually starting on Monday. And that runs for 2 weeks in June. That's not necessarily an open call, it is a special invite, but we do stay fairly busy with our 3 sessions.
And then we do have some national partnerships. So for example, Sundance Institute is a longtime partner, and they have created this producers lab. It's existed for many years, but due to shifting land ownership in their world, it's come to Ucross. And so it came for the first time last year, and this will be the second year in July. We'll have them for 2 weeks. So it's really amazing. Some really exciting emerging and established producers, and that's the whole format of their lab. They have a kind of a mentor, established producer, and an emerging filmmaker, and then they work together for a week. And then, so that's like the fiction film, the feature films, and then the documentary films. So it's a really inspiring process to watch. It kind of fits what a lot of us are doing in our residencies, but very specific for one discipline.
And we have so many that we not only fill the bedrooms, but they do have to sleep in their studios. So there's something in the day beds in studios. We fill,
for Sundance,
we fill almost every space on site in July.
So many filmmakers.
And some
And yeah, go to,
Jentel.
that's right. Go to Mary Jane's house. That's right. Still over to our college.
They still live
Yeah.
to the Jentel.
They just
Jentel.
They just take over Ucross.
They do.
Banner. The banner, that's right.
Yes, like the pile-on.
Yeah.
So, are you done? Sorry.
I'm done.
I remember my how we've formulated our session application segments. So we open February 1st through September 15th, and then October 15th we notify, or November 15th we notify, depending on how many applicants kind of have coming in. And then September 1st our summer fall session opens for application for the following year. So we're also accepting applications for winter, spring 2026, which it can't already be the middle of the year, is it?
It's not a question we need to dive into. So going some more on that, I think these can kind of go together. When in the application process, as Tawni mentioned, what are some of the work samples that you're looking for? And then within that, are we looking more, Doug touched it too, of emerging versus established artists?
Oh, it's me. We like everybody, emerging, established, interdisciplinary, kind of trying to figure out where they want to take a different path, if they're been writing for years and now they want to dive into photography or visual art or composing. But we don't have a specific niche that we're looking for as far as experience. You can be a professional artist, or we've had a lot of teachers apply in the last couple of years, which has been really, really cool. Like elementary school teachers, they're like, yeah, something other than finger painting would be fantastic.
And I think something really cool is just at the beginning of this year, we had a gal come, she was in her 80s, it was her first residency with us.
That's great.
Yeah, and she's so talented.
Amazing. Who was it?
Mary Louise Patterson.
Louise Patterson, yes. I couldn't.
An amazing woman who was in her 80s, a writer who was writing basically a memoir of her time as a physician, a pediatrician during a really interesting time in New York.
Yes, yeah.
But actually you were the one who picked up on this application of someone that, might have otherwise maybe fallen through the cracks.
Yeah.
And you identified her as someone who had a lot of potential.
Yeah.
So sometimes that happens, right?
Yeah, I know it's kind of a different section of question, but some of the, there's questions about what work might be the most important, but also, so we have our review panel, but also being able to go through from the application backside and kind of look at, we have a little blurb that's tell us something interesting about yourself. And it's really cool. Some of them are like, yeah, I used to be a physicist and I like to juggle and I'm a fantastic chef. And you're like, well, you've got really cool things to add to a cohort group.
Yes.
And that was kind of how Mary Louise got found.
Yes.
I was like, oh, this lady needs to come here. She's just so cool. She needs to
so
come.
awesome. Yeah.
So she was a lot of fun.
Great. Similarly, at Ucross, we welcome emerging and established artists. And I might take a step back and describe our selection process because Tawni and I are not selecting the artists. So we work with a panel of alumni and critics, curators, mostly just practicing artists who are incredible in their disciplines and also understand kind of what we're looking for in a cohort. They understand what Ucross feels like and kind of the sorts of artists who come through. So very similarly to Doug's practice, Tawni gives them, they all gather together in person at Ucross twice a year for each session. Tawni gives them do you want to describe what you share with them to kind of give the guidelines?
Yeah, I give them guidelines about what we're looking for, and I think one of the most important things that we talk about in this discussion discussion group is like, what would this residency mean for this artist at this particular time in their career? So sometimes the work might not be exactly where it needs to be, but the potential is there, or the drive is there. You talked about like the heart or the soul. So they are looking at work, they're looking at applications, but they're also looking at like, how can they benefit from Ucross, and what would this do with these artists? And so I love our selection process. I think it is kind of like a second residency for our jurors, because they get to come back, and it's interdisciplinary, which means that the visual artists are picking the visual artists, but then we're sharing it with the composers, the musicians, the dancers. So it just feels holistic and well-rounded, and putting together a really great group of artists that are at all stages in their careers.
And we do get a number of applications, so they are just pouring. They spend so many hours of their life reading these applications and reviewing this work for weeks in advance.
Yeah.
And then when we arrive, they do have their top selections, but they do discuss, and sometimes will change their mind and select someone who the whole group found to be very interesting. The beginning of the conversation is also great, because we all talk about our biases, and we actually are included in that, because we will weigh in if we are particularly excited about an application or not
excited.
And so, ultimately, like, we have discretion to make that change, but we so respect our jurors and how much care they bring to that process and it really is such an amazing process. And Tawni has created a really fantastic jury. And so we just go with their selections.
Yeah.
Feels really positive.
It feels really great.
Yes.
I have total respect for our jurors.
Do you guys talk about your biases?
Actually, with this, it's probably a good group to share this with, but I would say, personally, I do have a bias, and my bias is I have to struggle with residents who apply who've been to a lot of residencies. I'm not too, that is not a plus for me. It's like I'm looking for people I'm looking at that opportunity, but they haven't been to a lot of residencies, so.
That comes up in some of our biases as well.
Is that right?
For sure, yes.
Before we go into the preparation, how competitive is your selection process versus how many get accepted versus how many have applied?
I think we have like a 5 or 6% acceptance rate right now. We have how many? 800 applications?
We're between about 740 and 800 per session. So it is, 5 to 6% acceptance rate. So I would say that the time and care that goes into the application, sometimes there's just so many. So we often encourage our applicants to reapply again. And I can say, having been here enough to see like people that reapply, their chances are good. So like I would also encourage people like, oh, I didn't get in and I just did it this one time. Sometimes it takes 3 or 4 times.
And we don't have a limit. You can apply every session.
Every session,
yes.
Yep. And so just that kind of also like the tenacity of reapplying and like perfecting that application does pay off. I see a lot of people who have applied 3-4 times make it, and it is just the sheer numbers. Sometimes it's just numbers. It's a lot. So it does not necessarily mean that the work is not good or the application is not good.
No, it's our jurors, this most recent selection process, were paying, which is a great problem to have, but they were paying to have to make the decisions. Like they said, the quality of applications were so strong, and we just wish we had more space, more time, more. Yes.
Go ahead. We have 40 or so applications. 7 are small. It's all word of mouth. We don't market, we don't advertise. And with each resident that we have, we say, don't forget, tell your friends. If you like this experience, tell your friends, your artist friends, to apply. And so that's where we get a lot of applicants. We get applicants from Jentel, because Jentel says that they want to come back, and they say you can't. So they apply to our residency, which is great. I mean, I would add as an aside that the support that we've gotten as a new residency from the community has been awesome.
Yeah.
And it really feels good. It's not competitive. It's like, it's like, yeah, let's do this. So,
I completely agree. Every time our residents come, we're like, apply to Tongue River, apply to Ucross, because if you love this space,
Yeah. And it
and you
helps
get to come back sooner.
because Tawni's also a Jentel alum, so she speaks so well about both programs.
You're just gonna have to apply. Hang out. You can have the trifecta.
Sort of like, sort of belt.
I also was a Brush Creek alum when they were in
business.
business.
Interested.
Yeah, interested.
We accept 12 out of the 40, approximately. So it's 2 weeks to a month. And, so you have a pretty good chance, really, compared to you guys. It's hard to get it to Ucross, and I think that's great. It's just different program.
So we have 66 residency openings annually, and for the year of 2025, all encompassing, we had just under 500 applications. So there's 6 residences per session, 11 months out of the year, 3-week sessions.
So now we'll travel into that the artists have been accepted into that 5 to 6 small percentage of the larger. What would you advise for artists preparing to come for their first time to the residency?
So, if you're good, I'll start.
So I would say read any material that is given to you by the residency. So that's like user's guide and comprehend it, right? So user's guides, like policies, procedures, things like that. And also, that frequently asked questions on the website is a great way to find that too. Just whatever questions you have are most likely answered in those resources. So that's my biggest recommendation.
Sometimes more than once.
Yes.
It might be phrased a little differently. Same question, different phrase.
Yes.
Same answer.
I think we could plus to that.
I think for sure, we want everybody to be really prepared and know exactly what they're getting into. So yes, we also have an FAQ page on our website. We send out materials. We have an artist portal on our website as well that gives suggested packing lists per month. What studio supplies we have for you, all the things that are in the like common area supplies, like we have a chef packet that goes for dietary restrictions. And then we also in 2025 created a pre-orientation Zoom. So now you can come and get on and meet our staff, and we have a 1-hour Zoom call, which is just a lovely slide presentation of all the things that's already on our FAQ page.
Some surprise questions, and then we record it and put it on YouTube and send it to them. And then they still will say, can I come in on a Sunday? Yeah.
But I think for sure, it seems like all residency programs really want you to be successful and comfortable and not scared or nervous. And so it's out there. 99.9% of the time, it's really easy to find if you just go to the website.
It's really hard though.
This is like being an educator.
No.
Just eat.
This is also feeling like an artist residency support group.
I was gonna say, can I take notes on your call video?
I'll send it to you.
Maybe once a month for your support.
And soda and sandwiches.
I will say that having promoted in this last January, I would say 3/4 of our artists came, and every one of them said, "Oh my God, I love that so much." So I don't know if it was in the video format that's what did it, but it does seem to work. really well, and people were very appreciative that we had this new thing.
Right, we're trying to understand that, of course, everyone has different ways of intaking and understanding information, so whatever we can do. Maybe we should have a podcast next.
It's pretty simple. Most of the people who've been accepted, they look at the website. I call them about 2 weeks to a month before they come and say, looking forward to you coming. Do you have any questions? And they'll have a few questions, and can I bring my cat? Yes, you can bring your cat. And I remind them that it's a small community and that that there'll be limited access to things. But I also tell them you can walk to a grocery store and you can walk to things because they think they're on a 20,000 acre ranch. So it's a little different. So you can walk to corner grocery.
That's so nice. I do wish we had a corner grocery.
Yeah. We provide a car for them. So they have a car. It was a gift from a Dayton resident who just said they need a car. Go get one. So it was a good story. I said, okay, well, what are the rules? He says, if you drive the car around, I'm going to be upset. Otherwise, it's fine. It's their car. That's a modest little vehicle, but they can go back and forth. They can go up into the canyon. They can explore on their own, and we try to emphasize that it's for local use and not too excited if you drive to buildings, kind of thing. But I have a packet of things that we've created with places to go, things to see, what to do, what don't to do, and then we have rules. The rules are pretty basic, And we were told when we started the residency that people have different levels of cleanliness and everything. We have the residency spotless when you move in. And we ask you to leave it spotless. And they do. I would say 99%. They clean it from top to bottom.
I'm waiting for the subtitles to come out. That's great. Very surprising.
That's a basic rule.
Yeah.
Leave it like you found it. And they'll say, well, I can't get the sheets dry because I'm leaving at 8 o'clock in the morning. And I say, then you're going to have to get up a little earlier because I'm not going to do that. They'll be in the dryer. No. Anyway, that's worked out.
Set those boundaries. Good.
And we also provide a stipend, which I don't think was in here.
It was
In the question. We give each resident $200 a week for groceries, gas money.
Jentel also does a stipend, and it's $100 a week. So,
And as far as paperwork and communication that we send out, we have a travel form, travel plans. If you want to know if you're coming by bus, by buffalo, by bird, by how are you getting here?
Yeah.
What time are you arriving so that we can come and get you from wherever you're staying? Also, what time are you leaving? Because we will take you to the airport or the bus station. And a little blurb for Jentel Presents and our press release. And then a form for basic information. Who's your emergency contact? What are you allergic to? Those kind of things.
Ucross have a stipend or?
We do, yes. All fellows get a $1,500 stipend to support with travel because they're often coming from far away, and any support we can kind of give for lost wages. Of course, we can't do all of that, but.
I was intrigued by this question. Since we're all Wyoming residents, we've all been in there, and you have extensive materials, if they do read them correctly, of what to bring in packing lists. But what is something you would recommend that they bring that might not be on the official packing list?
Weather app.
You don't believe.
definitely Wyoming.
be prepared for all kinds of weather. But for Jentel specifically, I think it is different for every residency too. For us, we're very low tech, very low equipment. So if you're going to need anything, you should probably just bring it. Like any art supplies you need, bring it.
That's what we say too.
Yeah.
We do have Wi-Fi. But,
Well, we
and
have
there's a question.
kinda, like, it's like a 50-50
It's a
shot.
question that says, you know, do you have Wi-Fi?
Yes.
Oh, yes, it's
Okay.
for,
Yeah.
sometimes.
There we go.
We, since we do have a really detailed packing list for the month, and we also have very detailed lists of what we provide in the studios, we provide a lot of equipment. Our composer studios are pretty set up. Our visual studios are set up. So what I would say is, if you're looking on that packing list or whatever, and it's not there, bring anything that makes you feel comfortable. So I hear a lot of our residents be like, "Oh, you don't have robes." Maybe bring a robe, or some slippers have been requested. But really, we want you to feel comfortable and relaxed. And so if you're not seeing it on there, I think the other really great thing is you had mentioned communication. I do love a good reach out of like, hey, I went through all the sheets and you doesn't look like you have this. Can I go get this in town? Can we rent something at like a place in town? A lot of our composers rent at Craft Music Brother, so I think there's, I think it's communication, but I also think bring what makes you feel comfortable, and maybe that's like a bag of Cheetos, even though we go to town once a week, like bring the things that make you feel like you're gonna wanna make work.
Do you have a laundry?
We do,
So
yep.
they can wash.
They can wash all their, they can, and we have multiple, but we provide all the things, and so, and that's all on that list. So if they're looking, they should be able to see like, oh, I can do this, I can do this, I can.
And once a week, our housekeeper will turn their room over if they request it, just on a certain day once a week. So like
Sketchy
fresh.
first.
Yeah. Their husband doesn't leave.
I think the one thing on the packing list side of things, we don't have a packing, we have a please bring clothes, like bring these things, but also if you're coming in July, parkas are probably not necessary. But one thing I've noticed a lot, and maybe you guys have it at Ucross as well, is if talking about shipping art supplies, if they need extra canvases or whatever, I'm like, just drop ship it. And they're like, drop ship it? And I don't have to ship it to myself and then pay to ship it to you? I can just drop ship it there? And I'm like, yes. And then you don't have to pay for shipping out of pocket both ways, because it's expensive. Postage is ridiculous anymore.
Yeah.
Especially if it's heavy.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm gonna leave a little time for questions, but with how long everyone's been able to do and the impact that the residents have had on you, can you share a favorite success story or a powerful experience you've witnessed at the residencies?
I would say I recently was talking to a resident from 2009, and this happens quite a bit actually, but this was the most recent interaction, and just the connections people build in their cohorts of other artists is really amazing. She actually had just been visiting one of the writers that was in her cohort, visited the writer, and actually painted a portrait of that writer's daughter for an exhibition. So I'd say that I think just the connections is what's most impactful for me.
At Ucross, I was so interested to hear you allow family residencies, because we have never been able to support that because of our facilities and our desire to give all the artists present a really comfortable, experience. And so, as the parent of a 4-year-old, a very rambunctious 4-year-old, I recognize that she would not be a welcome dinner guest and would not maybe foster the creative spirit in the way that we really strive to, provide that sense of peace. And so, but we also recognize that many parents, often women, are not able to take residencies at really key times in their career because they just are the primary parent, caregiver. And so we had a really wonderful experience. Sarah Ortigan High Walking, who was in the Wyoming Women to Watch exhibition, her work was actually picked by the committee for the National Museum of Women in the Arts in DC. She was featured in our gallery last year and did a presentation for our Founders Day event in June. And Tawni and I were chatting with her afterwards, thinking like it would be so great to invite her to be a fellow at Ucross with a special invitation for the performance art that she does. We just launched this new fellowship for Native American performers, and she would be a perfect fit. And she had a 1 or 2 year old at the time.
Yeah, and she said, "Can I go home on the weekends?" And I was like, "Why do you want to leave?" And she said, "Oh, I have to go home." And I think he was 2 at the time because he's 3 now.
Okay.
So we collaborated a little bit, and we just finished up our very first family residency last Friday at Ucross as well. We will have another one starting in August, and for special residents or situations, we do now have that. And it was just such a great experience for her. Talked a lot about it, letting her know that she was the first person and like just getting some feedback, but they have a house, they have a front yard, they have bikes, a full kitchen. So our resident can participate in the meals with the rest of the group, or they can also choose to go home. And there's just a lot of really like flexible space that we now have and are able to offer. So that it hits near and dear to our mission.
And it is very complicated to pull off. So, kudos to Tawni who thought ahead of all the maybe pitfalls or issues, and then created this beautiful document with guidelines, and then supported the artists to help them read it. And it was really successful and heartwarming. And she's just shared some really great, tributes to that experience that warm our hearts. It's very close to our hearts. Yeah.
I have some inspirational stories, but I'm not going to tell those. I'm going to tell a story. The last resident that we had was a street photographer. And he said, I went to visit him, he said, I was at the Crazy Woman Saloon and to take pictures. And I said, you need to go to the Mint. Everybody, if you meet people in Sheridan and Dayton, they all have a story from the Mint. I met her at the Mint. I got thrown out of the Mint. I got drunk at the Mint. This happened at the Mint, that happened. I said, all the local residents have a Mint story. I said, you need to go to the Mint and take pictures. So
We closed down the Mint. We closed down the Mint. I know this. We do that.
He comes back the next day and he says, I went to the Mint. And I said, well, what happened? He says, I was sitting at the bar, I was having a beer, and a guy comes in, he sits down beside me, and he orders a Patron and a pineapple juice. And I thought, well, that's a weird Wyoming drink. And he drinks it, and then another couple comes in, and we have to move, and he moves down, and then he leaves, and this couple sits down. And the bartender came up to him and said, did you talk to him? He said, who? He says, that was Michael Keaton. Yeah. And he said, no, I didn't even know it was Michael Keaton. I didn't know it at all.
Wow.
Distracted by the drink course.
So then he talks to the couple, and he takes a series of photographs of the couple, and in a conversation with them. In other words, they were totally, it's not street photography where he's trying to do secret, stuff. And he ended up getting this fabulous photograph where she was sitting, the guy was on a bar stool, she was behind him, and they both had cowboy hats on, and she put her head down around his, it's hard to describe the photograph, but put her arms around him and the cowboy hat down. You can't see her face at all, just him staring into the camera. And so he got a great photograph out of his experience. But the thing he was most excited about, I have a Mint story.
Great one. Well, this will entertain some many questions from the audience now.
I had a question about local artists, people from Sheridan County applying to these residencies. What are some things that you found that have been particularly beneficial for artists from the area to be attending your residencies?
So kind of the other side of the family story, we had, our Sarah Zample, we all know and love. So Sarah has a family, of course, in Sheridan, and she was just so delighted to have 2 weeks to herself in this composer's cabin to be able to focus, and I think it helped knowing that she was close to her family. I think she maybe did go home a couple times, but that's a half an hour drive versus like being 6 hours or a whole day of flying. So I think that time and space, you're nearby, but you're kind of protected. She told her family, like, I am not available.
Just because I'm there, I'm not here.
I'm going to the grocery store every 2 weeks.
So we have a specific 307 application, which is just for Wyoming residents. So they can apply through there, and it's less competitive. It's not just like going with everyone else that's
Right.
throughout the United States and the larger area, the world. So, and I think the coolest part about having the 307 applicants and residents is that they get to show Wyoming to their cohort, and they're so excited about it. Usually they're from like other parts of Wyoming versus Sheridan, but they love the Sheridan area. They really find a love for it, but they also can just be like, oh, hey, this is normal for Wyoming. It's snowing in June, that's normal. To the resident that's from like Arizona. So just being able to share Wyoming culture with the cohort while they're there.
Before we launched the 307 Wyoming specific, we also have the UW Creatives, which is UW alumni, staff, and faculty specifically. And then we had Max Brown years ago out at Jentel, and is he still with tourism?
He is now, yes.
Yeah. So he got to have like a whole different spin on, like, hey guys, let's go get a mid-story. He had so much fun, but Max, I think he has fun in a closet by himself. He's really entertaining. So it's a lot of fun to see those local. Like I think he took a couple of people out to watch his little sister's writing lessons once or something. It was like.
But Tawni, you were a local artist.
I was a local artist, and I applied. I feel like, I guess, and I applied, I guess it's always the same. You always just want to put your best work forward. I think, instead of tailoring it like, oh, maybe it's Wyoming and they want to see this, I think like just putting your best work, and you're, getting, anytime you put out an application, having somebody proof it, like that doesn't know your work, your work so well, so have somebody proof it, have somebody look over your images. I've seen artists come in with 9 beautiful images and one image is like, and I've seen it can be so competitive that like somebody has 10 perfect images and you have 9. That can sometimes be so have somebody look at your images, make sure that they're shot well. If it's visual art or if it's writing, have somebody proof it. Just really treat it as if like this is one that you would send out to a Guggenheim Fellowship, because I think I know some people try to tailor it. Or I've heard artists say like, what's the easiest one to get into? Like we have 3, we have fiction, nonfiction, and poetry, and they're like, what's the easiest one? Where your best work is where you should submit. So instead of thinking like, what do they want? Just go with what you're strongest with, and that will be the ticket. And reapply. Sometimes you might be asking for a spot, like we have partners. We have to fill some of our spaces with partnerships. So sometimes you might only be able that year to come in August, and that spot might be filled. So it's really just, I think tenacity is like the one thing that I just keep. It's just, I've seen people reapply 6 or 7 times, and then all of a sudden it's like their career just starts to open up. So it's not necessarily your work or your application, but those are things that can really help, is just have somebody look it over, have somebody read it,
And double check your file types. before you
Double
try to
check your-
attach them.
That's right.
Because sometimes file types are like, oh, this works great on my Mac, and my PC goes, I have no idea what this is, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Get away from me. I'm like, please, will you send me a different file type? And if I don't have a response, or people will panic sometimes, like, well, I don't know how to make a different file type. And I'm like, well, we have time. We are talking about the fact that this file is not working for us, so we have time. But please, just make sure that it's one of the accepted file types, because we have, I don't know, I think our list is like that long on accepted file types. I'm sure your
It
probably
is.
is too.
Yeah.
It's like, you really have to find one that doesn't work, but occasionally it happens.
Yeah.
And they're like stuck to it. This is the only one I have.
What do you mean you're not on Lotus?
I'm just not. Barely online.
I'd say for local artists, we would pay particular attention to anybody from Wyoming who applied, because we consider Wyoming an underprivileged art area. So we would certainly, there's no guarantees, but we've had 3 artists from Lander who applied, who came. One would be probably Katie Klingsborn. She came who writes for Wyophile, and she came to write about her personal experience, not about Wyophile stuff. But it didn't matter. She could write about whatever she wanted to. But anyway, that's just a person that we, she's a great lady, by the way. So, anyway. But we look at under opportunity situations. That's how we would. Maybe that's a bias, but it's how we would view it.
And you had Oakley, right?
Well, we had Oakley, or Oakley had us. I don't know, but she's an amazing woman. She's a performance artist,
Yeah, Wyoming performance
and she sat
artist.
down at the gallery on Main
Yep,
in a bright
I was there.
red dress. Were you there?
I was there.
Okay. For
Oakley
12
boycott.
hours. Oakley boycott. Yep.
And where is she based?
Incredible.
In Lander?
And she's from Landon. Yeah. And that's her real name.
Oakley Boycott is her name.
Yeah.
And she is
Very
incredible.
Wyoming.
And people came into the gallery. It's like, what's she doing?
Yeah. Conceptual performance artist. Really
Yeah,
awesome.
that's right.
Yeah, so that's an example of like finding a Wyoming artist who might
Exactly.
not fit into certain other categories.
Particularly in Wyoming.
Yes, in Wyoming. But I really appreciated the fact that you gave her an opportunity, because I think her work is really.
Yeah, it's great that she's doing that.
Yeah. And so there are these artists in Wyoming who deserve these opportunities.
Yeah. She's not surrounded by agreement
Right,
for her work.
that's right.
We'll be looking her up after this.
Yeah.
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 Thank you.
Do you ever see any collaboration among your residents? Like, what is that?
We actually just had collaboration at Sage. It was from an old cohort. They wrote a proposal, and they were like, we want to do a group show. And so Sage hosted it. That was October of 2024, so.
But like within the residency, or are people more like, I'm in this space and I want to be alone? Or are people like, let's
During
make
their time.
a mess together?
So I don't see a lot of artistic collaboration, but what I do see at Jentel specifically is, because we have the shared community kitchen and everything like that, is the collaboration on meals and meal time, which is pretty cool. Because at the start, at the first orientation, we go to town, we go get groceries and everything. Everyone's like, okay, I'm gonna get this for myself, get this for myself. Next trip, everyone's like, so who's cooking this time? And it's actually pretty cool to see, so.
We did have a collaborative pair of composers apply and get accepted, so they'll be here in September.
Yes.
So they are coming as a collaborative group, but they have to apply individually and submit a proposal for their applications to be accepted and for them to be in the same session.
I just think more like spontaneous, like, hey, I'm doing this art.
They
bond a
dancing
lot.
in the studio.
They bond a lot over the creek.
Yeah.
I know that they bond a lot over the creek and food.
Yes. Yeah, they love the creek.
I'd be happy to like answer for ours. Since we're at 10, you do have some people who are like, I am here to work. I am not coming to dinner. I am like in my studio, and they do that, and that's great. But we do have a lot of like collaboration. I think it's set up. We also have like the community common areas, community rooms. We see a lot of artists, yes, bonding and doing things outside. We also see relationships that are made. Like we had 2 artists that just came to our residency, met, and then applied for a collaborative residency at Tributary, and they did a residency there together as a collaborative group. So I think it always depends on the group, but in general, I would say yes, there is a lot of collaboration happening where people are reading each other's work, or like people are being invited into each other's studios. Lately they were doing like the photo, where you put it outside in the sun. Anyway, like 3 or 4 of them switched their whole project proposal, and they were all doing it. So I do think that yes, and that's also how you learn and grow as an artist. Is somebody's coming in and they're sewing, and you're like, so it's a really interesting dynamic where you're throwing things that you wouldn't normally see in your studio because you're kind of isolated and you're insular. So it's, yes, it happens a lot.
I don't know if Ucross has one, but Jentel has these like, I don't know if you call them journals?
Yeah.
The
guest
notebooks.
books. Yes, the guest books.
But they would be like entire stories or comic strips that are drawn and illustrated by somebody else. But I don't know that, and I think there's been a few, I can't think of anybody's names off the top of my head, but I know there's been a few past artists who have reconnected later in life and done collaborative shows years later, but not necessarily like, hey, you're all making cyanotypes in the driveway, bring your friends.
That did happen.
But I will say, I have seen artists take a lot of inspiration from other people. Like, it was April residence. There was someone working with a lot of primary colors, a lot of, bold, bright colors. And this artist who usually works in neutral, she's like, I'm gonna do this red. I'm gonna do it because he does a lot of red, and I'm gonna put red in my stuff. So it was pretty cool. She was still like, I don't know about the red. But it's cool to see other artists inspire another artist. So.
And if you bring your cat,
That's right.
You can felt.
They're so scared.
on their paws, and they walk across that house.
We do accept collaborators. A couple will come to collaborate.
Yeah.
They're a songwriter and a player, or whatever, so that, we only pay one stipend.
One more question. Just like, when you're looking at a body of work or what people have submitted, are you like, oh, this person definitely knows like what they're in love with? Or do you see somebody's like, what's going on with this human and what is going through their head? Like if it's just all over the place, are you more, I guess, within the application process, is it like, you should submit a body of work that's cohesive? Or you should submit the things that are bringing you joy right now? We can just leave it on that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily weigh in for Ucross, but having sat on juror panels, I am looking for somebody who is, I guess both. I'm looking for somebody who is relentlessly headed in pursuing this idea. Even if it's like an insane idea, they're dedicated to what it is. And usually I feel like I see joy in that work because I think instead of going this way, they're really digging down to the heart or the soul of it. So I am looking for some work that is like thematically going they're telling a story and they're crafting that story. But that's just, again, I'm just one person on a juror panel.
I would agree with the crafting of the story. I wouldn't, I think they don't have to all be within one project or telling exactly one story, but I would lean away or suggest away from kind of random sort of disparate pieces. Like say if you were involved in a few different projects, I think that would be confusing to the juror. Yeah.
I agree with all that. We're looking for some theme.
Yeah.
You don't want to see,
Yeah,
if it's a
your concept.
sculpture, sometimes you get artists who submit art and sculpture, and it's like, if they fit together, that's good, but it's like, was this a sculptor or is this an artist or a painter or, so it's confusing, it gets confusing. You want to see that I have a sense of where they're going, what they're trying to accomplish.
There's a lot of artists that are multidisciplinary, but they choose one kind of focus when they apply, from what I see.
Yeah.
We also, for our application, asked for 10 images or up to 20, but a minimum of 10. And it's got to be within the last 2 years. So we can kind of take a snapshot of either how they started and where they've gone up to, and maybe there's a through line there, or perhaps they were just really excited about wax apples for 6 months, but it wasn't 10 years ago, and now we're making something completely different. Like it's got to be what is the most pertinent to what your vision is as an artist now. And what examples of those are as well. This is the same thing for writing and poetry and our composers, is anything in the last 2 years, so that we can kind of.
That's a good idea. I haven't done that, but that's good because sometimes you get excited and go, I think this is in there 10 years ago.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, well, what have they done?
Right.
Yeah.
Good point.
So what, you've accepted them on thematic wise, do you go, since there's not many producing requirements, do you hold them to any of the, if they get accepted here, they can?
Do whatever they want.
Yeah, they write a proposal, and most of the time nobody follows the proposal, which is totally okay. You can do whatever you want. You don't even have to make anything.
Yeah.
So.
And we have had artists that have come and not made anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And there's also the ones that show up and make, like,
So much.
we had a gal a few years ago who made leather bags, suede bags, she made stickers, she made, like her entire studio was just wall-to-wall stuff. She was like, guys, look at what I did on my spare time. Okay. She was like running 5 miles a day and getting up, and she was like, there's no internet, I can make stuff, I can do stuff. And she really didn't think she had any clear idea of what she wanted to do with her time there. She kind of had an idea, but she was like, honestly, I'm not super sure. And then it was like, okay, you can calm down. Okay, everybody else in her cohort was like, so can we just all say that we're tired for her? She's done so many things. And that was
I think one of the most interesting things is, from my experience, and I bet from all of on our side of this, you drop people into this situation. Okay, you've got 2 weeks to a month, you drop them in, and then you see what they do. And some people, we had a woman there a couple of weeks ago, she had paintings out in the yard. I was trying to cut the grass. Her paintings all out in the yard, watercolors drying, and I mean, she must have done 50 paintings. And other people, it's contemplative. It's other people are, they have a car, our car or their car, they're never there.
Yep.
Other people never leave. It's just so interesting to see what people do with that opportunity.
right.
And some people are amazing with it. I mean, that's my experience, and that's from my point of view, that's what makes this fun to kind of see how that plays out, without not too many expectations, really, So.
And what cracks me up when they're like, we've decided that we're going to Devil's Tower for the weekend.
Yep.
You're like, well, have fun. We can do that?
Yes.
Yeah.
See you later. Do Yellowstone trips too.
Oh gosh, I don't know how they do them so fast either. They're like, we're gonna go to Yellowstone and be back day after tomorrow. You're like, okay.
I don't know where they find to stay.
I don't
residences.
Either have time for one more question, or if there's any last comments that we didn't get to that you'd like to share.
There's actually a question on here that I would love to answer, which was, what would you say to someone who's never applied for a residency before and may feel intimidated? Because as an artist, I've never been to a residency, I've only worked in one, but it seems really unachievable at some points, especially when you're starting out. But I would just say, do it anyway. Just apply. The worst that's gonna happen is you're gonna miss out on your application fee. And for us, it's what, $30? So buy $30. But I just say do it, take the chance, so.
I would agree with that, yeah. That's a great closing statement. I would say, apply.
And I think the wonderful thing about that is, remember that if you put together an application for one residency, generally you can tweak it, and now you can apply for another 25. And you can spread your net wide and see what comes. 'Cause I think I saw somebody once apply 6 times, and all of a sudden now his career is blowing up, and he's doing so well. But it took him a minute, and so just keep doing it as well.
Yes, there are so many stories of people who do create a lot of work and then have to take a break because life gets in the way, and then come back. And those stories are so inspiring too, because some of us are not able to work through having kids and work. Everyone has different barriers, and so life. And so I think that's really true. And Artist Community Alliance, I mean, obviously apply to all 3 of these, but Artist Community Alliance is such a great resource as well. They have, they list all of the residencies. You can find a good fit for you. I definitely recommend.
And also, with the, case in point with our 2-year cap on how old your work is, if life has gotten in the way, if you've had an injury, if you've had a major life event, if you've had any, just send a message and say, hey, it's been 5 years since I've been able to do anything, and I would love to apply, but I don't have any current work. Or I recently drew a stick figure on a napkin, and that's what I've done in the last 2 years. But communicate about it and say, hey, I haven't been doing much lately, but this is what I used to do.
Life gets in the way.
Get it. Yes. Well, thank you all for coming.